Hello everyone, and welcome to my The Bold Fans channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Luna raised her chin. Her dark hair matted from the rain they dragged her through on the way to the police station. The cuffs dug into her wrists, yet her expression was defiant, almost calm in its lunacy. It's not a bomb, Bill. It's a gift. Our grandchild. Will's child. My child. You can't just lock me away like some criminal. This baby deserves parents, deserves us. Katie Logan Spencer watched the exchange from the corner of the room, a hand pressed to her chest, as if to steady the frantic beating of her heart. She had aged a decade in the last 24 hours, her once perfect makeup smeared with the traces of tears she refused to admit. Bill's wife, who had worked her way to the top of the fashion world with brutal precision, suddenly appeared frail, her silk blouse clinging damply to her skin. Parents. Katie's laugh was harsh and hollow. You drugged him, Luna, you violated him, and now you want to play house? Our son is upstairs, barely holding it together because of you. The arrest happened quickly that morning just after daybreak. Informants' whispers, tips from the underbelly of LA's elite circles, had led the LAPD directly to the shabby motel on the outskirts where Luna had been holed up, plotting her next move. She'd been eluding capture for weeks, ever since Bill foolishly arranged a pardon in the hope of buying peace. But tranquility was a luxury the Spencers had never experienced. The charges were piling up. Assault with a deadly weapon for killing Liam, conspiracy for her involvement in Sheila's plots, and the most serious of all, first-degree rape. The evidence was clear. Will's sobbing confession to the cops presented a picture of coercion disguised as seduction. Bill insisted on being present when they put the cuffs on her. She's family now, he'd screamed at the police, using his clout to gain a few extra minutes alone with her in the interrogation room. But what about the family? The word tasted like ash in his mouth. He had carried her back to the mansion himself, bypassing the precinct's holding cell, because he couldn't trust the system, especially when it came to his blood. Katie had followed in her car, her tires screeching on the wet pavement, her mind racing with wrath and regret. Now, as the clock on the mantel crept beyond 8 p.m., the weight of the day fell on them. Luna's pregnancy test, certified by a private doctor Bill had contacted earlier, rested on the coffee table like a ticking time bomb. Positive. 6 weeks along. The ultrasound image, hazy and otherworldly, revealed a small heartbeat that flickered like a distant star. Bill had stared at it for what felt like hours, his mind replaying every bad decision that had led him here. The affair he'd hidden from Katie, the pardon he'd obtained through old political favors, and the blind eye he'd turned to Luna's instability because she reminded him, in some strange way, of his own reckless youth. I need air, Katie said quietly, breaking the tight tension. She turned to face the French doors leading to the patio, her heels clicking unevenly on the floor. Bill reached for her arm, but she brushed him off, her eyes blurry from unshed tears. Don't. Just don't. Luna's lips formed a faint, sad grin. See? This is what I mean. You're breaking already, and the baby's not even here yet. Let me go, Bill. Let me talk to Will. He loves me. Deep down, he knows it. Bill's hand sprang out, smacking against the wall inches from her face. The hit sounded like a gunshot. Love? You don't know the meaning of the word. You shot his brother. You lied to everyone. And now this. You're a poison, Luna. A goddamn curse on this family. But uncertainty gnawed at him even as he shouted the words. What if the infant is healthy? What if Will, in his foolish youth, felt a pull towards it? Bill had once been that impulsive boy, caught between duty and pleasure. He looked at Katie's departing back, the lady who had forgiven him so many times, just to be punished with this new hell. Outside, the rain had subsided to a misty drizzle, transforming the terrace into a slippery, shadowy sanctuary. Katie rested against the stone balustrade, her arms wrapped about herself as if to fend off the chill from within. The city lights blurred through her tears, like a kaleidoscope of remorse. The streets of Beverly Hills wound like veins, flowing with the lives of strangers who had no notion of the horror unfolding in this gilded cage. She remembered Will, their only son, upstairs in his old room, which they had retained as a shrine to his childhood, complete with lacrosse medals and faded rock band posters. He'd been so thrilled about college, about Electra Forrester, the girl with the fire in her eyes and plans to design her own line at Forrester Creations. Now he lay curled on the bed, staring at the ceiling, clutching his phone like a lifeline he was too terrified to use. "Mom," he'd muttered when she checked on him earlier, his voice quivering. "What if it's mine? What if I can't? What if I don't want it?" Katie had knelt alongside him then, caressing his hair like she had when he was 5 and terrified of thunderstorms. "We'll figure it out, baby. Together. Your dad and I, we've been through worse." But were they successful? The affairs, corporate wars, and never-ending cycle of love and betrayal marked the Spencer-Logan dynasty. Felt strange. This was the loss of innocence, a child's future dangling on a string of lies. She let forth a deep, uncontrollable sob. She slipped down the balustrade, her fashionable skirt pooling around her like spilled ink, and buried her face in her hands. The tears flowed quickly, wetting her palms and causing her shoulders to shake. Bill found her there minutes, if not hours later. Time had blurred in the dark light. He lowered himself next her, the cold stone stinging through his pants, and drew her into his arms without speaking. They sat like that on the terrace corner, where the balustrade met the ivy-covered wall, a quiet nook that used to be their favorite spot for secret kisses during turbulent times. It now cradles their pain. Bill traced slow circles on her back, his touch cautious, as if he feared she would shatter. "Katie," he said finally, his voice raw with emotion, "I'm so sorry. This is my fault. I thought the pardon would end it, bury the past. I never imagined." Katie lifted her head, her gaze seeking his face in the dim light. The man she'd loved for decades, powerful, unyielding Bill Spencer, appeared broken, his jaw shaded by stubble and deeper wrinkles etched around his mouth. "We both imagined too little," she remarked quietly, her fingers caressing his cheek. "We let her in. We let our pride blind us. And now God, Bill, he's just a boy. He didn't ask for this." Bill's eyes welled up, revealing a rare weakness beneath his armor. He wasn't a crybaby. Tears were for the weak, and Bill Spencer was never weak. But tonight, with the rain whispering secrets into the breeze, he let them fall. One tear rolled down his cheek, then another, till his massive chest shook with quiet sobbing. "I failed him," he cried out. "My son. The one good thing I did right. And you, Christ, Katie, after everything, I dragged this nightmare back into our home." She caressed his cheek, wiping away the salt tracks with her thumbs, her tears mingling with his. "We failed together, but we're still here. We're still fighting." Her voice quivered, but there was steel beneath it. The Katie who had built Spencer Publications from the ground up, who had faced Brooke Logan and triumphed. That baby. If it's real, if it's Will's, we protect it. Not for her. For him. But Luna? She doesn't get to win. Not this time. Inside, Luna strained against the cuffs, her ears tuned to the muffled sounds from the terrace. She could hear Bill's deep rumbling and Katie's slight hitch of breath. Crying. They were crying because of her. A twinge twisted in her chest, not guilt, but something sharper, like an echo of a life she'd never experienced. Growing up bounced between foster homes, with Lee's harsh disapproval and Sheila's tumultuous love, Luna learned early on that tears were weapons rather than weaknesses. But as she listened to the Spencers dissolve, she sensed a fracture in her resolve. The baby. Her hand immediately moved to her abdomen, shielded by the thin fabric of her wet shirt. This small life was her anchor and redemption. Will had been gentle that night, even in his haze. She could see the spark of something genuine in his eyes before the medications took effect. Or did she? Doubt appeared unexpectedly. What if it was all a delusion, a desperate attempt to belong? The hours faded into a haze as the night progressed. Bill and Katie remained nestled in their corner, their bodies linked against the cold, murmuring plans and concerns into the night. "We'll get the best lawyers," Bill promised, his arm tight around her waist. "DNA tests first thing tomorrow. If it's his, we take custody. If not, she rots." Katie nodded against his shoulder, tiredness dragging on her eyelids. "And Electra? Will needs to tell her. Properly. No more secrets." Bill sighed, his voice heavy with the weight of parenting. "Yeah, poor kid. She's got Forrester blood, resilient, but this could break her." As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in bruised purples and golds. A light tap echoed from within. Katie's niece, Hope Logan, waited in the doorway, her face pale with worry. She'd driven through the night after a late meeting at Forrester, prompted by a frantic text from Katie. "Aunt Katie? Uncle Bill? The police just called. Something about Luna being here instead of in custody." Bill stood stiffly and assisted Katie to her feet. Their gaze met the patio doors where the city awoke, indifferent to their anguish. "Come in, Hope. It's a long story. And it's only just beginning." But for Bill and Katie, in that fleeting moment before the world intruded, the corner had been sanctuary, a place to cry, cling, and remember that even in the Spencer's world of glamour and grit, love could still mend what madness tore apart. Hope stepped into the mansion's big hall, her feet echoing softly against the gleaming floorboards, and it seemed like a tomb. She took in the scene. Luna, untidy and shackled, her eyes red-rimmed but flaming with the uncanny intensity Hope had always found disturbing. "What the hell is going on?" Hope shouted, her voice full of anxiety and command. As Brooke and Ridge's daughter, she inherited the family's ability to cut through turmoil. Katie approached her, drawing her into a brief, tight hug. "Luna's pregnant. She claims it's Will's. And she's been arrested, but Bill brought her here first." Hope's eyes widened as she glanced at Luna. "Pregnant? After everything? God, Will must be devastated." "He is," Bill replied, his tone sharp as he used a key from his pocket to free Luna's handcuffs. She stroked her wrists and said nothing, but her eyes followed him like a shadow. "But we're handling it. Family comes first." Hope shook her head, her blonde hair catching the morning light. "Family? Uncle Bill," she shot Liam. "She manipulated everyone. This isn't just family drama. This is criminal." Luna finally spoke, her voice calm despite the quiver in her hands. "I love him, Hope. That's not manipulation. That's real. The baby proves it." Hope whirled on her, wrath in her eyes. "Love doesn't come with handcuffs, Luna. Or bullets. Stay away from Will. From all of us." As Hope consoled Katie, Bill drew Luna aside into the study, the door snapping shut behind them. The area was a temple to his history, with walls adorned with accolades and a large desk packed with contracts and whiskey decanters. "Listen to me," he murmured, moving in close, his breath warm against her ear. "You're staying here until we sort this. Guards at every door. One wrong move and I make that call to the DA. Pardon or no pardon, I can bury you." Luna's gaze met his without hesitation. "You won't. Because deep down you see yourself in me. The fighter. The survivor. And that baby, it's Spencer blood. You'll fight for it." Bill tightened his jaw, but he didn't deny it. There was truth in her remarks, and he despised looking into the mirror. His own childhood had been a battlefield of terrible decisions, affairs that resulted in unplanned children and rivalries that left wounds. Luna was chaos incarnate, yet turmoil had shaped him. Will stirred upstairs as sunshine broke through the drapes. His head throbbed, not from drugs this time, but from the pain of reality setting in. Electra's text lit up his phone. "Where are you? Call me. Please." He composed a response, deleted it, and then typed again. "We need to talk. In person." His thumb lingered over send, his heart hammering. Electra, vibrant, ambitious, the girl who had made him believe in eternity. How could he confront her with such a mark on his soul? Katie crept in as the door creaked open, her face softening, mother instinct taking precedence over the conflict. She perched on the side of the bed and took his hand. "Hey kiddo. How are you holding up?" Will's eyes welled up, but he blinked. "Mama, I messed up. That night I thought it was a dream or something, but it wasn't. And now a baby. What if it's true? What if I'm stuck with her forever?" Katie squeezed his hand, her words comforting. "You're not tied to anyone but who you choose. We'll get answers. A test. And whatever happens, you're our son. We love you. No matter what." Downstairs, the confrontation heated up. Hope, ever the mediator, attempted to reason with Luna. "Think about what you're doing. Prison means losing that baby. Is that what you want? Bringing a child into the world without a mother?" Luna's demeanor slipped slightly. She slid into the sofa, hands embracing her stomach. "I never wanted this, the shooting, the lies. It was survival. Lee hated me, Sheila used me, and Will was the first person who saw me, really saw me. Hope softened somewhat as she sat next her. I get it. Family rejection cuts deep. But violence? That's not survival. That's destruction. Bill watched from the doorway, his mind racing. He needed to call Ridge and include the Forresters. Electra's family would demand it. But first security. He called his head of detail and shouted orders. Double the men. No one in or out without my permission. By midday, the mansion was bustling with activity. Lawyers arrived in elegant black SUVs, their briefcases loaded with papers to dismiss the arrest, citing the pardon and pregnancy as mitigating circumstances. Doctors set up in the guest suite for the paternity test, promising that it would be non-invasive and safe for the fetus. Katie oversaw it all, Logan's tenacity shining through the tiredness. But beneath the rush, grief hung like fog. Bill and Katie have a nice lunch in the sunroom and enjoyed some alone time. The table was set with crystal and china, but the food remained untouched. Remember our wedding? Bill asked abruptly, his fork sliding peas over his plate. On the yacht with the ocean stretching forever. I promised you the world. Katie smiled slightly and reached for his hand. You gave me more. Will. This life, crazy as it is. Her voice faltered. But seeing him hurt like this, it guts me. Bill nodded, his throat tightening. Me too. I thought I was protecting him by bringing her here. Control the narrative, right? But it's slipping away. That afternoon, Electra arrived unexpectedly, her car screaming to a stop in the driveway. She came through the front door wild-eyed, searching for Will. Where is he? What's this about Luna? The police scanner. I heard everything. Katie stopped her in the hallway and drew her into an embrace. Upstairs. But Electra, it's bad. Give him time. Electra drew back, tears flowing. Time? He texted me to talk. And now this. That psycho is pregnant? With his... Oh God. She sank onto Katie, weeping running down her tiny form. Will heard the commotion and down the stairs, his face pale. The sight of Electra, with her unkempt hair and puffy eyes, twisted the knife even further. Electra, he said softly, his voice breaking. She flew into his arms, clutching him as if he might vanish. Tell me it's not true. Tell me you didn't. I did, he muttered, the confession slipping out. But I didn't want to. She made me. And now the baby. They dropped to the bottom step together, clutching, their youthful love damaged but unbroken. Luna gazed from the shadows, a single tear sliding down her cheek. For the first time, regret tasted real, bitter and intense. As nightfall arrived, the family gathered in the living room. Bill stood at the head, like a commander briefing the troops. Hope, Katie, Will, Electra, Ridge and Brooke had all arrived, summoned by the web of alliances. Bill remarked, the test results will be available tomorrow. Until then, Luna is under lock and key. No contact. Ridge, the patriarch, nodded solemnly. Forrester supports you, but if that child is mine by blood, through Electra's connection to Will, we fight clean. Brooke, dressed elegantly in pearls, placed a hand on Katie's shoulder. Sisters in this. Whatever it takes. Luna, ushered in by guards, stood motionless, her defiance muffled by the day's events. When her gaze met Will's, there was no plea, just grief. I'm sorry, she said, her words lost in the din of voices. Night fell again, and the terrace called Bill and Katie like a siren's song. They returned to their corner, the balustrade chilly in their hands. There was no rain this time, only stars pricking the velvet sky. Bill drew Katie closer, his lips brushing her temple. He simply stated, I love you, as if renewing a pledge. I love you too, she said, leaning against him. Tears fell again, but softer this time. Tears of relief, of shared burden. They grieved in the silence as the city hummed below, for the son they'd raised, for the innocence taken away, and for the fragmented but continuing family. And in that vulnerable embrace, hope flickered. A little heartbeat in the darkness, echoing Luna's rising one. Sadness enveloped them like a shroud, yet love, passionate and unwavering, promised morning. The days that followed blended into a tapestry of tension and affection. Tuesday delivered the paternity results, which were positive. Will's child. The room fell silent as the doctor handed over the packet, with Bill's hand resting on his son's shoulder. It is yours, son, but that does not change who you are. Will crumpled the paper, his face filled with agony. Electra, alongside him, clutched his hand, her resolve strengthening. We'll raise it together. If you want. But her? She gets nothing. Katie, staring from across the room, felt a new rush of anguish. Grandparents, cuddles, storytelling, and legacy should all conjure up positive emotions. Instead, it bound them to Luna's shadow. Legal fights raged.